Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we are diving deep into a festival that's celebrated by more than a quarter of the entire world's population. It's a time of incredible food, huge family reunions, and, of course, fireworks. We are unpacking the Lunar New Year. But before we get into all the amazing traditions, I want to start with a question, just to give you a sense of the sheer scale we're talking about here. What do you think is the world's largest annual human migration? Now, it's probably not what you're thinking. And you guessed it, the answer is directly tied to this festival. And the answer is Chunyun, which translates to the spring movement. It's this 40-day travel frenzy in China that happens right around the Lunar New Year. We're talking millions upon millions of people traveling all across the country, sometimes for days, all driven by this one single, incredibly important goal: to be home for the New Year's Eve reunion dinner. It's just an amazing testament to how deeply important family is. Now, you've probably heard this festival called a few different things, right? Spring Festival, Chinese New Year, Lunar New Year. And that variety itself kind of hints at a really rich and complex history. So in this explainer, we're going to get into the story behind this massive global celebration. So here's our game plan. First, we're going to decode the unique calendar that sets the date. Then we'll get into the zodiac and the 5 elements. So cool. After that, we'll unpack all the rituals for good fortune. And finally, we'll see how this one festival has so many different faces all around the world. Okay, let's jump right in by answering what is maybe the most common question out there. Why does the date for Lunar New Year move around every year? One year it's in late January, the next it's in mid-February. What's going on? Well, it all comes down to the kind of calendar you're using. Most of us are on the Gregorian calendar, which is a solar calendar. It's simple: 365 days, tracking the Earth's trip around the sun. But the Lunar New Year is based on a traditional lunisolar calendar. And as the name suggests, it's trying to track two things at once: the cycles of the moon and the sun's journey through the seasons. So yeah, a lunisolar calendar is basically a hybrid system. Think of it like trying to keep two different watches perfectly in sync. See, a year based only on the moon is about 354 days long. That's 11 days shorter than a solar year. So if you didn't do something to correct for that, the new year would just drift earlier and earlier, eventually ending up in the middle of summer. So how does it stay in sync? Well, it's a pretty brilliant system. First, the months follow the moon. So every month starts on the day of the new moon. Second, to make up for that 11-day difference, a whole extra leap month gets plopped into the calendar every 2 or 3 years. And third, there's a crucial anchor point. The winter solstice always has to happen in the 11th month. That's the rule that locks the whole thing to the seasons, making sure the new year always kicks off the spring. All right, so we've got the when figured out. Now let's get to the what. Because this isn't just any new year. Every single year has its own unique identity, and that identity is defined by the Chinese zodiac. The whole thing starts with this fantastic myth about the Jade Emperor, a powerful god who wanted to create a way to measure time. So what did he do? He organized a huge race for all the animals in the kingdom. The challenge was to cross a giant, fast-flowing river, and the first 12 animals to make it to the other side would get a year named after them. And here they are, the 12 winners of that epic race, from the super clever rat who finished first, by tricking the ox, by the way, to the diligent pig who came in last. And the belief is that each animal in this repeating 12-year cycle lends its own personality and traits to the year itself and to all the people who are born in it. But hold on, because it gets even more complex and, honestly, even cooler than that. It's not just a simple 12-year cycle of animals. There's another whole layer woven into this cosmic calendar: the 5 elements. These are wood, fire, earth, metal, and water. In ancient Chinese philosophy, these aren't just substances. They're seen as the fundamental building blocks of, well, everything in the universe. Each one has its own energy and characteristics, adding another deep layer of meaning to each year. So here's where the magic happens. You take the 12 animals of the zodiac, and you combine them with the 5 rotating elements, and what you get isn't a 12-year cycle, but a massive 60-year cycle. This makes every single year incredibly specific. So for instance, 2026 isn't just the year of the horse, it's the year of the fire horse, a combination that only comes around once every 60 years. Okay, so we've got this amazing cosmic clock, but what does it all actually look like on the ground for real people?
Well, the traditions of the Lunar New Year are all about renewal, family, and most importantly, doing everything you can to bring in good fortune for the year ahead. The prep work starts long before the new year actually arrives. People will deep clean their entire homes to symbolically sweep out any bad luck from the past year. Then come the decorations, especially the color red, which is all about good luck. The celebration really peaks with that huge reunion dinner, the tradition of giving money and red envelopes for prosperity, and then, at midnight, lighting tons of firecrackers to scare away any evil spirits. And the food! Oh, the food becomes this incredible language of symbolism. That reunion dinner is just packed with lucky dishes, and the meaning often comes from some really clever wordplay. For example, the Chinese word for fish, yu, sounds exactly like the word for surplus. So you eat fish to wish for a year of abundance. And dumplings? They're shaped like ancient gold ingots, so eating them is a wish for wealth. It's brilliant! So this might have you wondering, is it considered bad luck to eat the zodiac animal of that year? Like, should you avoid beef during the year of the ox? Well, from everything we've found, the answer is basically no. There aren't really any strong, widespread traditions against it. The symbolism is much more focused on what you should eat for good luck, not what you need to avoid. All right, for our last section, let's zoom back out. Because while many of these traditions have roots in Chinese culture, the festival is celebrated all across Asia and by communities all over the globe. And this brings us to a really important distinction in how we even talk about this holiday. You hear these terms all the time, right? Chinese New Year and Lunar New Year. And a lot of people use them like they're the same thing, but they're not, and the difference matters. Chinese New Year is specific. It refers to the celebration with all its unique Chinese traditions. Lunar New Year is a much broader, more inclusive term for any New Year celebration based on this kind of calendar, recognizing that lots of different cultures celebrate it in their own way. A perfect example of this is in Vietnam. There, the Lunar New Year is called Tet Nguyen Dan, or just Tet for short. It is, without a doubt, the most important festival in Vietnamese culture. And while it shares themes like family and renewal, it has its own unique foods, customs, and even some different animals in its zodiac. And then, if we look at Korea, the celebration is known as Solal. It's a huge national holiday there too, but with a strong focus on honoring ancestors through special ceremonies. Families get together, they eat traditional rice cake soup, and many people will wear these beautiful traditional clothes called hanbok. This table just lays it out so clearly. You can really see this beautiful diversity. While the timing might be shared, the expressions are totally unique. I mean, look at this. The Vietnamese zodiac swaps out the rabbit for the cat and the ox for the buffalo. And the traditional foods are completely different. From dumplings in China to sticky rice cakes in Vietnam and rice cake soup in Korea, each one is its own rich cultural celebration. And all of this really brings us to a final, bigger thought. A calendar, it seems like just a simple tool for tracking time, right? For marking off days. But what we've seen here is that a cultural calendar does so much more. It tracks history, it preserves myths, it encodes a culture's most important values about family and good fortune, and it literally carries a people's deepest hopes for the future. It's not just a clock, it's a mirror.